Fody. Benjamin is out of Texas. He has been running his commercial cleaning business for the last few years. And I'd love for us just to start with Ben. Introduce yourself, tell the audience a little bit about your background and how you got in the cleaning space, and we'll kind of start from there.
Sure, man. Appreciate y'all having us on. I was never interested in commercial cleaning whatsoever, and my background is insurance. My parents did insurance for 20, 30 years, and so naturally I got into the insurance business, did it for about 10 years, got burnt out. From there, went to retail. Retail is the worst, and working long hours and doing the inventories and customers and all of that, and then eventually I have a brother-in-law that's in telecom, and was just like, hey man, I'm looking for a change. He brought me on. I was working in the warehouse and doing the closeout packages for the clients, Verizon, AT&T. Basically worked my way up through the ranks, and then roughly 3.5, 4 years ago, my brother-in-law had this great idea, like, hey, let's just start a cleaning business, because we knew some people in the industry that were doing really, really well with it during the COVID years. And so long story short, 4th of July, we were all sitting around talking about it. I flew back to Texas, and I called my brother-in-law up and was like, hey man, here's our LLC, here's this, here's that. And Top Notch was born roughly almost 4 years ago. It'll be 4 years in July of this year. And
Wow.
and so it's been a great experience. I didn't know anything about janitorial. I knew nothing about cleaning besides cleaning my own home. I didn't know anything about the commercial space and what that looked like. But we were able to scale it to what we've been able to scale now with your guys' help and with strategic partnerships. And so yeah, that's how we got into the industry and into the business.
So break it down for me. Did you start in commercial right off the bat, or did you do like residential first? Because a lot of people usually enter in the residential and then realize, hey, commercial is really where I want to be. How did that happen with you? Where did you actually start?
So we started directly into commercial, and it
Okay.
was strategic that way because I still do telecom. I'm still in the telecom industry, still working a 9 to 5. So it allowed me to still do my 9 to 5 job, and then after hours, I could focus on the commercial. So that's why we strictly did commercial. And let's be honest, commercial is really where it's at. You could land 1 or 2 really large contracts, and you could be set. So having to deal with residential really wasn't where we wanted the space, what we wanted to be in. And so, yeah, it was straight commercial as soon as we got into the industry.
Yeah. Okay. And then kind of walk me through like the first couple of years. What were the kind of the biggest challenges? What did you kind of have to face? You're also juggling a 9 to 5. I mean, there's a lot of things that you're doing in the beginning. How did those first few years start off?
So the first few years were rough. There were several times where I was ready to throw in the towel. Again, like you said, having to juggle a 9 to 5 and then having employees as well, hiring people, being able to rely on them to show up to work, to make sure that they're doing quality work, that they're not cutting corners. And so where we really struggled the first couple of years was finding right people that we could not babysit and really just say, hey, this is your schedule, here's your supplies, this is the scope of work, and hand it to them and expect that they were going to do the same quality work that I would personally do myself. And
Right.
so that's kind of where we struggled at first was finding the right people, cleaners, and making sure that they're again just showing up to work. I think that was the biggest thing is you get a call from a client, hey, nobody showed up to clean, and then you're trying to find out, hey, what had happened? Oh, my car didn't start, or got in a fight with my girlfriend, or whatever the
Right.
case may be.
Right. Right.
So we, after the first couple of years, we ended up going, we had probably 15, 20 people within the first couple of years. I just got to the point where I was tired of having to babysit people, and so we just went to a strict subcontracting model. It just till recently we've been able we just recently hired a bunch of more people now that we're in the process of growing. But yeah, we went to a strict subcontract model because I can vet these contractors and I can look at their Google reviews and I can see what type of quality of work they do. And I can basically just hand a contract to them and say, hey, I have this contract, here you go. And they manage it and I do the follow up with the client. And so, yeah, first couple of years were rough. But I think now knowing the industry, coming up 4 years, we've learned a lot, right? And you learn through your failures. And so
Absolutely.
I've been able to bring in other people now. We have a pretty large team now, and area managers, and we just brought on a CFO, we just brought on a COO, and now we're to the point where I can kind of be hands off, let my management team manage our people, manage our clients, and I can focus more on just growing the business.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned that, specifically how you had a lot of issues with direct employment, people not coming on time, all the excuses that we've all heard, and then switching to the subcontractor model. Do you feel like that was an easier process for you because you've already managed, obviously, in your day-to-day job, that as long as you find the right crews and you build a relationship with them, then it just got easier to fulfill on the work that you were starting to get? Was that was that transition just because when you hire a sub, you're really paying for them not only to do the work but like manage the work that they're supposed to do, and you hold them accountable, right? How did you end up actually even going to the subcontractor model when you were doing direct employment? What was the click of like, hey, maybe I should try this versus, trying to find more labor and see if you can do it again with, without going the sub model?
So the turning point for us was we got a call from a client that said that one of our employees stole money from the location. And it wasn't just one time that we had that. We had that a couple times with several different locations, but the same client. And so at that point, that was the turning point where I was like, you know what, I'm done with employees. I'm going to go contract model. We got into the post-construction piece as well. And so with post-construction, we subcontract 100% of the work unless it's in one of our areas where we have team members. So that was the turning point for me to say, I'm going to go straight subcontract because I know that these subcontractors are going to do a better job than my internal team. And secondly, I don't have to babysit them. I can hand off a contract, I can inspect, I can follow up with the client, make sure that the client's happy. And if the client's happy and they're doing what they need to be doing, then I can be hands off and I can go after more work and in turn reward them for their good quality work and customer service, because I can go after and get more contracts to give them and help grow their business as well.
Got it. So the sub model was a way for you to focus, and I think we all talk about this, especially at Skill My Cleaning Business, is like your main role as a business owner in the commercial cleaning space, like the most profitable role you can be in is the sales side, right? And that is the most difficult role to really fill in. If you had an option of hiring the world's best cleaner versus the world's best salesperson for cleaning, which one's more valuable to you? Well, it's the salesperson, right? Keeps bringing in more work, right? And so it's a really interesting point that you made, that you did this so early on. I feel like a lot of people hold off on, hey, I want to handle the cleaning. I want to even do some of the cleanings. You didn't even have the time to do that. You were working the 9 to 5, so you have to rely on a proven team. Hiring direct employees that you really don't know how well they've worked, what their experience is, how long they've been, in that space versus the subcontractor model. One, you have someone that's going to be managing all their, employees or subs or whatever way they have it structured, right? But you really have that layer of there's someone else accountable there on the facility level for you versus with the direct employees, you have to hire kind of a manager to do that. Did you notice though that obviously with subcontract you pay a little bit more, but you felt overall that, hey, I might lose a little bit of a margin here, but I'll just be able to acquire more accounts, which is going to bring me more revenue than trying to micromanage every single account and facility. Was that kind of the thought process?
Absolutely. Yeah. If I'll take less of a margin and make sure that that client's happy, which again, in turn allows me to go after more clients and
Right.
increase my revenue. So, yeah, if you did it internally, you could make a 40% profit. But again, you're dealing with the day to day. Oh, I need supplies. Oh, my truck's not working. Oh, I got, in an accident. Oh, you're dealing with all those excuses. Yes, we still see them on the subcontracting side, but they're more apt to get somebody to show up versus having to deal with the day to day. And yeah, it allowed me to go after and really go after more contracts to increase my revenue because at the end of the day, it's all about net. And if I can increase my revenue, then that's going to increase my net, regardless if I'm subcontracting or doing it internally. But I just didn't have those core pieces to, be able to do the sales, to do the operations, and to do the admin. And so,
Right.
I mean, the three key pieces of a business is sales, to your point, um, uh, the operational manager, and the admin. And if you have those three things, sales is the lifeblood of the business. If you're not constantly selling, we are all salesmen in this industry. Even that goes down to the cleaners themselves. They're a representation of sales. And so if we're not selling, we're not growing. And so yes, that allowed me to focus more on networking and creating new relationships. Getting hooked up with you guys allowed that as well, and which allows me to then focus on growing the business.
Yeah. Tell me, before we started working together, I think a lot of your focus, correct me if I'm wrong, was more on the construction cleaning, post-construction cleaning, a lot of more large one-time opportunities. And then I think when we started talking, it was more focused on let's get the reoccurring. But walk us through that space. I mean, you get your first couple accounts. You didn't really go the reoccurring side. You actually went a completely different end, and you focused more at the larger one-time cleans. Like, how did you get into that? What made you go into that, and what made you say,
Yeah.
"Hey, I like the one-time, but I also want to get reoccurring"? How did that kind of develop?
So I had a couple ladies that were looking for cleaners on Facebook, and I posted, "Hey, I have crews available." They reached out, and that was my first taste of post construction. They were actually subcontracting work to me. After maybe about 6-8 months of me working with them, they actually were not happy where they were at, and they wanted to come work for Top Notch. And so they ended up coming to work for me, and that's kind of when our business flipped upside down. We went from 172,000 to over 1.1 million in 1 year, and then from 1.1 million to 2.5 million the next year. And this year we're on track to do 5 million. And so the post construction really was the catalyst of our growth. And again, the post construction's great because it is a one time. Hey, thank you, ma'am. We're done. You get, you submit your documents. The only downside of post construction, which most people I'm sure are aware of, is the pay terms.
Right.
Sometimes we're waiting 4 or 5 months to get paid from a client.
Right.
But I still have bills that need to be paid. I still have cleaners that have to be paid. I still have insurance and rent and all these other things that still have to be paid. And so there can be a downside of it as well. And that's when, getting hooked up with you guys and getting hooked up with a few other individuals, what was the catalyst for me to say, okay, hey, I need to start focusing on reoccurring. Yeah, great. You can do $2.5 million in post-construction, but if you don't have that reoccurring revenue coming in on a month-to-month basis, there's no way business is gonna be able to sustain the growth of the post-construction because you're not getting paid in those net 30 terms or net 45 terms, right? You're constantly having to rob Peter to pay Paul, or go after the MCA loans. And I'm sure we're all aware of going after the MCA loans and the line of credits and this and that. And it's like you're always playing catch up because you have people that need to be paid. You just don't have enough cash flow coming in. And we all know cash flow is king in this industry, in any industry, in business itself. So yeah, post construction was a huge catalyst to our growth. And now, just within the last couple months, we've added on about 75,000 a month in reoccurring revenue. And again, that just comes down to networking, relationships, and just pounding the pavement is really what it comes down to. And so, reoccurring is where our focus is this year. And like I said, our goal this year is 5 million in reoccurring revenue for 2026. And that's not including any of the post-construction stuff that we're doing, or our other business, which we'll talk about here a little bit later.
Right. Yeah. And so, just for the audience and everyone else that's watching, and kind of give a breakdown of what when you started post construction, we kind of met where you had some recurring clients or accounts, and you were looking to do that more. Obviously, we stepped in and helped a lot of the lead generation end. Mm-hmm. But tell people about what I think is really cool is that you had a really cool structure on how you were able to navigate working in multiple markets, a 9-to-5 job. You're not typically the one always selling on these accounts. You mm-hmm. are on some of them, but you have other team members and folks that you subcontract or partner with. Can you kind of touch a little bit on that? Because I think you're a great showcase of like the potential and what this industry is turning into. That you can be an operator in Texas and be closing accounts in Louisiana. You can be doing it in Florida, and you're doing Absolutely. That right now. And we have a couple of folks that work similar to you, but I think you're a great example of like, you don't need to wait to do this. If you have the right relationships, could you just tap on that? Sure. On how you evolved into that and how you navigated that? Sure.
So we went from Texas, and just to kind of lay the foundation of our footprint and growth. So we went from just doing work in Texas. Post-construction, we have a very large Rolodex of cleaners, subcontractors. I got the bright idea of starting an affiliate program, and you and I've talked about it, and with along with Alex, and this was something that I saw the Janney Kings and the ABMs and the Vanguards and these franchises that made people pay $25,000, $35,000, $50,000, $100,000 to just get a franchise up and running, and then those conglomerates don't really pour into those companies or those franchisees to help them really grow their business. They make them pay for leads. They're taking a royalty off the top of the gross. And so I had came up with an idea of starting an affiliate program, which allowed existing commercial cleaning companies to partner with Top Notch at no fee. And they actually became part owner of those markets and got a percentage of the net revenue that came in on a month-to-month basis. And what that did is, for one, it allowed them to tap into the resources that I have, being with, Scale My Cleaning Business and tapping into some of the big companies that I work with, which normally they would not have access to because maybe they don't have the insurance or they don't have the revenue or the requirements that come along with that. And so we started that program in, I want to say October, and from October to November, and I'll just give you so we were able to pick up, we started the affiliate. We have New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Mississippi, Oklahoma, California are some of the affiliates that now work for Top Notch or partnered with Top Notch. Pennsylvania is a great example of just the growth that we've had. We went from $0 in November to roughly $1,500 in December to $6,000 in January to $32,000 in February of reoccurring revenue. And Mississippi, we just landed 20 banks. in the Mississippi area, which is paying around $13,000 a month. And what's great about the affiliate program is that these people have the feeling of business ownership, right? I'm sitting with them, I'm teaching them, I'm coaching them, I'm showing them how to run a business, and they then become a tool within the tool belt that we can use to help manage those people, help manage those clients. And then on the flip side, they get a percentage of the net revenue. So a great example is Mississippi. Mississippi, we landed those 20 banks, and my area manager, Danny, again, we went from $0 to $13,000 in 1 month, and he's roughly going to make $4,000 this month just off of that one account. And
that's awesome.
It gives them ownership. Right, it gives them a sense of just ownership of the company, and makes them feel like they're a part of the team, right? And the great thing is hey, if we go from 13 to 20,000 or from 20,000 to 50,000, they also get a percentage off that growth as well. So it inclines them to go out and do sales and try to bring in more clients, because if they're able to bring in more clients and now we have more revenue, we have more net, that's more money in their pocket, right? And the other thing too is that they don't have to worry about, when you start a new business, you got to worry about getting supplies and paying payroll and all of that. Well, the great thing about partnering with Top Notch and becoming an affiliate is we cover the payroll, we cover the supplies, and all that does is that just comes off of your net payment at the end of the month. So
Right.
so yeah, the affiliate program has been a great experience. Like I said, we started in October, November, and just within these 3 months, 4 months, we've been able to grow an extra $50,000 a month in reoccurring revenue, and it's just the tip of the iceberg. We've been able to land contracts in Missouri, South Carolina. And so having them as affiliates has allowed me then to go after more work, because I'm not having to manage the crews, I'm not having to manage schedule, I'm not having to manage payroll, and that's their responsibility as an area. We call them an area manager as an affiliate. That's their responsibility, because they're getting a majority percentage of what we're bringing in. So yeah, it's been a great 3 months with experiencing it, and so it's something that we're going to reopen up probably in June and see if we can find a few more affiliates that want to jump on and help us grow in some of the other states where maybe we just don't have a huge footprint. But it's allowed us to expand into some of these other markets where maybe we wouldn't be able to, because we just don't have the cash flow or the immediate capital to spend a bunch of money to hire somebody and pay for supplies in an office and all of that. So it's been a great experience, and I just love seeing how excited our area managers get when we get new accounts, when we hire new people. And really that's what fulfills me, is seeing them grow in the industry and helping, them and their families. And so that's why I do it. I don't do it for the money, even though yes, we're all in business to make money. But ultimately it's like I'm helping these people grow their cleaning business as well, in areas that they would never be able to tap into, because they just don't understand the industry or maybe not have the right connections. So it's been great.
That's awesome. So it's really a partnership with these people, and it's I think what I keep talking about, it's collaboration over competition, right?
Absolutely.
And you're exemplifying that. If you help other people grow, you inevitably will grow, right? So that's awesome, man. That's awesome. So that's the model that you went into. You did the subcontract. Now you're doing the affiliates. Talk to me about something that we've been working on. I don't know if we've spoken too much about, but let's talk about what happened the last 2 quarters of last year with working with us, and kind of what we started partnering on together. Why don't you share a little bit about that?
So I would say in This is actually going back to June of 2024.
Right.
We had found a janitorial supply company that was looking to sell. At that time, his price was just way too high, and so we kind of let it put on the back burner, right? Well, they had reached back out to me in March or April, I believe it was, and we were at the end of the day, we were able to get him down to a fairly reasonable price for a janitorial business that's doing anywhere from $800 to $1 million in revenue here locally in the state of Texas. And so December 15th of 2025, we now own a janitorial supply business. And so it's now an additional service that we can add on to our janitorial service, and really become a true end-to-end janitorial company, right? Hey, we can offer your services, janitorial services. We can now supply your supplies, whether it's toilet paper, hand towels, soaps, floor cleaner, machine scrubbers, backpack vacuums. We can provide it all, and so it's been a great learning experience. Getting back into the retail space of janitorial, learning it, understanding it, and so it's been great because we do have a general manager that runs our store, which you had met the other day, and
Right.
And he's excited. He's been working there for 4 years, and it's been stagnant. It's been the same clients, the same amount of revenue. And now that we've taken over, there's been like a new spark in him. Like he's like, I'm ready. Let's grow this thing. Let's do this.
Right.
And so it's a new opportunity in a new area for us to grow in.
Yeah, walk us through so just people understand how long it took.
Yeah.
I mean, Ben, how many meetings did we go on talking to a bunch of different businesses that obviously in the commercial cleaning space or the supply space? I mean, I don't know how many we've spoken to, had conversations with, and I mean, when we ran the numbers, the P&Ls, the profit loss, I mean, you get a good idea based on those balance sheets, and going through that, reading that, understanding what it even says. And then, figuring out that half of these people, one, there's so much of this weird spending going on. You have to really derive the real number that was there, right? And do all these different buybacks. But walk people through that process of not only, the acquisition side of, talking to these either brokers or direct, business owners that want to sell, navigating the SBA route. We helped you out with bringing, obviously, the lender in there. Navigating how to get the down payment. Talk to them a little bit, because I think a lot of people are super excited to see on the internet, oh, you can buy a business and do this. Yeah, you can. And then when you buy it, that's not even the hardest part. You have to operate it. Can you kind of glimmer a little bit of light on that and that process that both of us went through on this to finally get to the finish line?
So I don't know how many people we've talked to, businesses we've talked to, probably 6 or 7, where they want to sell, and we start digging into their P&Ls and their tax returns and financials, and the one gentleman we talked to, his P&L was all screwed up, and what was even funnier is the broker didn't even catch it, and it's like, hey man, you're taking a loss every year. How are you wanting $500,000 for your business when it's taking a loss every year, Right. And so our conversations with H&H Janitorial Supply, I mean, literally it took us 1.5 years to close on just that one deal. And we had many, many other deals that we potentially could have closed. But again, it's exciting. You get that rush. You're like, oh, I'm going to own a business. I'm going to, increase my revenue. And, the easiest way to increase your revenue is to do mergers and acquisitions, right? But it's not as easy as people think, because these brokers are in it for the money. They want their commissions out of it. And so that's why you have to do your due diligence. You have to look through the P&Ls. You have to look at, it with a fine tooth comb and make sure that what they're representing are the actual and true numbers. Because I think every business that we've talked to, there's been some type of stipulation or some type of error in
Right.
their P&L,
Right.
and they're like, oh well, let me go back to my CPA and talk to my CPA, and I think that we've offered some fair amounts to a few individual cleaning companies, and again, the brokers are in their ear just saying, no, you can hold off, you could sell for much higher, but when you have a $650,000-$700,000 business, you're not going to get $650,000 for it,
Right.
So the process was new for me. I had never done a merger and acquisition. And so learning the difference between a stock purchase and an asset purchase, and
Right.
you learn all these different things, and so we eventually ended up settling with H&H on the 15th. Had to go through that SBA process. That took 6 months just to get through SBA, to be able to close on it. You were able to help out with the down payment, for H&H, and so we're partners in this, and we are going to do whatever we need to do to grow this business, and so every Monday I'm at the supply store. I'm meeting with my team, making sure that they have everything that they need, making sure that suppliers are paid off, making sure that our clients are paying their bills, making sure that the lights are on, the rent's on top
Right.
of still working a 9 to 5, and on top of running
Right.
a multi-million-dollar
Right.
janitorial business. So,
Right.
so yeah, I'm all over the place, but again, it's really who you surround yourself with. It's your sphere of influence, right? I know my GM can handle running the store. My job in all of this is to grow the business, to network, to put the name out there of H&H, and help bring in more revenue for the business. Too, you buy a business, and the other thing that most people don't understand is you have $0 to operate your business, and the money that is in the bank account at that point in time of sale does not go to you. It goes to the previous owner of closing, and so that was one thing we had to learn with H&H. We had to make sure that we had enough cash in the bank account to run it for the next couple months before the bills started coming in, and invoices started coming in. So that was a learning experience for me as well. But it's again, you only become better by learning and by failing, and so all of this has just been a huge learning experience on my end. Like I said, I didn't know anything about M&As. I didn't know anything about purchasing companies, and you and your team have been able to sit with me and explain to me, hey, this is the difference between this and this, and if I would have went all in on the chips on H&H back in this January or June of 2024, I would have paid $250,000 more than what we got the business for.
Right.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
and so
That's exactly.
it's playing the
Yeah.
long game. It's really about playing
Yeah.
the long game and getting it down to the price where it needs to be, and just letting those owners see that, hey, no one's going to buy the business for that amount, and then coming back in maybe 3-6 months later, hey, have you been able to sell the business? Oh no, we've had a few blah blah blah, and okay, hey, I'm still interested, but this is still my price, and if you guys are interested, then let's try to make a deal. But it's
Right.
not and I had to check this on myself, and you had to tell me, hey man, it's all exciting, but I don't want you to overpay either. And so
Right.
knowing that and understanding that, and really just taking a back seat to see how it all plays out really was the best for us, because we ended up getting $1 million business for a fraction of the cost.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think something that is this is good for people to hear is like, when we came in as just a cash purchase, right? And as we started giving the person more time to come to reality, you don't necessarily always have to do cash. You can leverage SBA, get a loan in place. We structured even a seller financing portion so we can have operating capital. I think it's, anyone can buy a business, but buying one strategically and leveraging different things is going to give you a better opportunity when you get in the seat of it. Now you own it. Now you got to operate it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I want to bring up to the folks listening. It's like another thing, the lease for the physical location, right? You want to lock that in for a couple of years because God forbid you buy the business and the landlord, if you don't own the real estate, jacks up the price 35%, and now you have unexpected expenses that are coming up that weren't on the P&Ls, right? So there are nuances to this thing, and anyone can buy a business, but how well you buy, I think it's very key. I think what I got taught from a mentor of mine is like, you don't make money on the sale, you make money on the purchase, right?
Yeah.
And I think what we did there is let's not jump the gun here. Let's give it time, and time will either kill the deal or win the deal there. And for our case, it won the deal, right?
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
No. And it was, I mean, every time we do this, it's always a learning curve. There's always new things. And I think as you noticed as well, when we got into the trenches of it, there's always some skeletons in the closets, some constraints that we weren't aware of. They're not crazy skeletons. You should probably get most of those out during due diligence, hopefully. But the constraints are there, right? And especially, when you buy through an asset purchase or a stock purchase, different things adjust, different things change, existing relationships might adjust. And those are things that we even walked into that didn't realize, right? It didn't impact us terribly, but, those are things that you have to look out for. So it's not a one size fits all. And I think it really takes someone that's done this to navigate this. I'm not saying you can't do it on your own, but I think it's, if you got some people around you that can support you on this, which might be one of the few biggest purchases you ever do in your life, get some support on it, right? That's the way I look at it, right? So,
absolutely.
Talk about today. How are you navigating now? You're obviously, it was very strategic us aligning and partnering on this because, hey, janitorial supply company. What we work with a lot of subs, we partner with a lot of other companies. So even if we bought it at a price that might have been higher or lower, right, we were willing to pay for that kind of business, well, because it vertically integrated so well into what we were already doing and provided us different channels to, monetize, right? Tell me about, how is it today running the supply company? How are you kind of organizing things? Talk about how your system's set up. I know you have some folks that work, that we provide you to work with you to help you on the, on the admin and operation side, but still running the 9 to 5. I know you mentioned that you might be looking at an exit in that soon, depending on what number you hit. But how are you juggling it all, man? It's not an easy thing. How are you doing it all?
So, time management, it really just comes down to time management. One of the blessings of running your own companies is, and with my 9 to 5, is I get to work from home. So, I'm not constrained to an office. If I had to go into an office every day, it would be a different conversation.
Right.
The 9 to 5, being able to work from home has allowed me to still, manage what I need to manage. Like I said, I go into the janitorial supply H&H. I go in every Monday and meet with Kenneth, and we sit down. Hey, how was our sales last week? What invoices are past due? And so I'm trying to help him out as much as I can. But majority of the time that I'm there, I'm on conference calls with potential clients, or I'm on conference calls for my 9 to 5, and so really how I juggle it, it surprises me at times, because I am a regional director for a telecom company, and so I do have people that work underneath me, which is great because my team is very, very good at self-management. So I don't have to babysit them. If I ask them to do something, they do it. If I need a report, they send it. So that also allows me to, spend time managing H&H, managing Top Notch. But yeah, my exit strategy is, I put a date of June, like that's my drop dead date of June of this year, so I can solely focus on growing the janitorial reoccurring pieces, and so we'll see how March, April, and May play out. We have a lot of great opportunities, some meetings scheduled at the end of this month, and which could be a huge catalyst for us to get some direct contracts with some really big retail companies. But it's challenging at times because not only am I juggling 3 different jobs, but I'm also juggling being a husband, being a father, being present for my kids and for my wife, and so you got to take all of that into consideration.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to
Yeah.
build I want to build a legacy for my kids and for my family, but I can't neglect them in the process.
Right.
And so I've been married 21 years, and my wife is very supportive. She's actually surprised on how we've been able to grow the business and get it to where it's at. But really, it just comes down to hard work, having good work ethic, and just having being honest, having integrity and character in what you do. And people see that. If you offer a good product and good customer service, that's really what it comes down to. You know,
Right.
so it's been challenging, especially now that we're growing every month. We're adding 50 to 60,000 a month in revenue every month, and so it's definitely getting busier, which in turn I have to look at as the CEO of the business. I have to look at bringing on, like I said, a COO. I have to look at bringing on CFO. I have to look at bringing on other maybe regional managers and this and that to help me manage the people, because I can't do it by myself. And there has to get to that. You have to get to a point where you start bringing other people in to help manage and to help oversee. And as the CEO, your job is to delegate your team, manage your team, make sure they're doing what they're doing. You have to inspect what you expect. But the CEO should not be doing everything. We should not be doing payroll and accounts receivable and operations, and like the CEO's job is to grow the business, to do the networking and go after new clients and constantly trying to be out there to sell.
Yeah.
And so we've just in the last couple months we've been able to strategically bring in additional resources, management, to help manage what we're trying to do, because I wouldn't be able to do everything by myself. I wouldn't be able to do it, especially with the growth that we're having this year. So it's been tough, but we're getting through it. And like I said, June, hopefully that's the date where I can say, hey guys, I'm gonna just focus on my business full time, and we can get H&H to where we want it to grow, and we can get top notch where I want it to be at, and from there just continue to grow. I mean, really the sky's the limit. It's just
Yeah.
you got to have vision for the growth.
Yeah. And I want to just touch up on what you said there. I think you're absolutely right. As the owner and founder of your organization, you need a team. You need to delegate. You need to empower your team to be able to make the decisions, because you can't be nitpicking everything. I love what you said. Inspect for what you expect. It's great. That's a great line. And I think that really I think if you set the right standards, and you do it in a moral way, you do things right, you go above board. I think those are the fundamentals of a strong business, right?
Yeah.
And I think what you said there is true. There's no way you're going to grow to multi-millions handling all of this yourself. It's just not possible, and it's not supposed to be. You grow a business to have a team, right? You didn't grow a business to be the 80, 100-hour employee every single week. You put in as much time as you can, but you got to bring other people in to take on the things that maybe aren't the best use of your time and skill set. Doesn't mean you can't do it, but like what you said, Ben, is it more favorable for you to run payroll or hire someone at 15 to 20 bucks to do that and focus on getting accounts, which is a much higher thing to hire, right? So, yeah. What else? I mean, have you I guess my question for you is, as you've gone through this process, where you're at today, if you reverse back with everything that you're talking to a new cleaning business owner, and he's starting off, what advice would you give them? What would be your hey, step into my shoes. Let me give you a little bit of
Sure.
of a cheat code here from everything I learned the last few years doing this, and banging my head against the wall and finally finding the door. What would be your piece of advice to them?
I think from what I've, because we work with over 150 different cleaners nationwide, right? The number one thing that I see that holds them back from growth is they're out cleaning. They're an owner operator. And one of the things that I'm teaching my area managers and my affiliates is, yes, if you need to go, you can go clean. Let's say someone calls out sick, or they can't make it and we need a body real quick to get in, and do the service. By 100%, yes. But you need to think like an owner, not an operator. And for me, the reason I've been able to scale my business is because I never went out and, yes, there were a few times that I went and helped out where I needed to help out, but I never went out and cleaned. I hired people to do the cleaning, and I managed my business as a true owner. And so, I see a lot of companies that and cleaning companies that I talk to, that they're like, man, I'm doing 400,000 a year, 600,000 a year, and I can't. I'm at a ceiling, right? John Maxwell has a book called 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. The first law is the law of the lid.
Yes.
And you'll never grow past whoever is at the top. If they're at a 6, you're never going to grow past a 6. And so as the leader, as myself, I need to be at a 10. So that way my team can get to a 10. And so I would say the biggest thing is do not go clean. Run your business as an actual owner. Now, again, there are going to be instances and times where you have to make that, sacrifice. There's been plenty of times where maybe someone didn't show up and I got to run to the eye doctor and go clean the office. At that point, I'm taking my wife and my kids and we're going to go clean. We're going to go clean the office together. Yeah. But if I can strongly recommend, is run your business as an owner. And 2, you need a salesperson. Sales is the lifeblood of the industry. If you don't have somebody out there cold calling, door knocking, whatever, you're never going to grow your business.
Right.
And so, the biggest thing is, if you want to grow, you gotta just sell. And you got to run your business as if you're an owner. Like I said, there's just too many cleaners out there that I talk to on a day-to-day basis. Cleaners that do post-construction for us. The owners are out there cleaning, which is great. But again, if you're out there cleaning, who's going after new contracts? Who's cold calling? Who's dropping off flyers and pamphlets and business cards and all of that? And so that's one of the things that I'm teaching my team, my affiliates, is, yes, at first, if we need you to go clean, that's fine. But the end goal is to get you out of the field and you manage your business and you manage the team as if you were, you're the CEO. And so I think that's the biggest impediment that I see for most cleaning companies is because they're so worried about revenue and net income. Well, I can keep more money for myself. Well, yeah, that's great, but you're going to hit a ceiling and you're never going to grow past that ceiling. Then what?
Bingo.
Bingo.
So, yeah.
And I got a couple friends that own cleaning businesses, residential businesses, and they're in the same boat. They were in the same boat for like a couple years. They were like, oh, yeah, we're doing 100,000 a year, 150,000 a year, but they're doing all the cleaning. And they want to grow their business, but they're worried that they're not going to make enough money to pay their bills and this and that. And so I think that's where the fear comes in. But again, if you want to grow your business, you got to be able to let go of doing the actual cleaning, and you got to lean on other people to support and help out. And so that's one of our big things that we're doing this year, partnering up with other cleaning businesses and growing our business. And they're leaning on us to do our part. I'm leaning on them to do their part. And at the end of the day, We're all going to grow our businesses together. But again, I'm the CEO. I need to be the CEO. I need to manage my business and not be in the weeds of all the day-to-day operations.
Yeah, yeah. I think I just want to touch on that. I think it's the idea of like there's two sides of this business. It's the mop and bucket and the pen and paper. And
Mm-hmm.
if you want to do the mop and bucket part of the business and just handle fulfillment and really be an owner operator, just realize where that lid is. And if that's what you want to
Yeah.
do and you want to stay in that space and you're comfortable, happy, great. But if you want to get past that, you have to leave the mop and bucket and you have to pick up the pen and paper. Because
Absolutely.
there's no mops to go to bucket if there's no pen that goes to paper. If you don't
Absolutely.
have cleaning contracts, no one is cleaning anything, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what you're saying is true. It comes down to what your goals are. You have to adjust what you're doing. And I think to mention to your point, you're going to have some short term hurt, right? You're going to have some short term, pain because you're deciding to spend more time on sales related activities versus the cleaning
Mm-hmm.
side. And that means there might be less revenue this month or this day or this week, but
Yep.
it's a long term gain because if you get one more account that you subcontract and have a 20% margin, you just got back that money that you weren't able to because you were cleaning, right? But the more you
Mm-hmm.
spend on those sales related activities, the short term loss that you take on for the long term gain, that's how you move out of there. And I get it. There's some people that are stuck in that loop right now that, hey, I have to clean to pay the bills. I get that, right? But
Mm-hmm.
you have to carve enough time in your day, especially if you're starting off on sales related activities, right? For Ben, it's a little
Yep.
bit different. Ben's already at a different level now. It's not just, hey, I don't need to do cold calling. I can hire people to do that. I don't need to learn SEO. I can hire someone else to do that. But no one else can go to a networking event, a commercial, property management event better than Ben and be able to network, find people
Yeah.
that are, going to be the right folks. I mean, you're going to an event just soon here, meeting with some big wigs out in Vegas. But those are the
Yep.
kind of activities that only Ben is going to have the best opportunity to deliver there, right? Not that his team can't, but that's his lane. That's what gives the most impact to his organization. It's not picking
Mm-hmm.
up 100 phone calls. But that might be for someone else when they're doing 5 to 10K a month. Don't, feel like you need this, you have this ego and say, I can't make a call. If
Yeah.
you can't persuade someone to sit down with you and talk about cleaning services, how the hell do you expect to sell someone on the cleaning services? That's the reality, right? And I think
Absolutely.
everyone's got to go through the trenches, and as you develop, you identify with the money that you're earning, who can I hire to handle these different things, and where does my focus change, and where do I bring the most impact? And I think that's what you're really doing really well here, Ben. I mean, ever since we've been working together, I think you've kind of already seen where, hey, I can delegate these things, get this handled, and this is where if I focus on this, I drive the biggest impact. Which I think last year when we were working together and partnering up, one of the biggest things that we saw an impact is hey, we need to focus on buying a business because buying a
Yeah.
business will increase our revenue. Yeah, it's going to take some time, but the right business that we can acquire will provide
Mm-hmm.
us a much larger opportunity than all of these smaller things that we could be doing, right? So yeah,
Absolutely.
I think it's an evolution, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
as you grow, there's different levers that you need to pull on for you to keep growing and moving, right? So,
Yeah.
Ben, do you want to add any last thoughts or anything else before we wrap up here? I think we're at the 50-minute mark almost.
I mean, it's a great industry to be in because it's really a recession-proof industry. You know, when COVID happened, cleaning businesses boomed,
We boomed,
right?
yeah, it boomed,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
The janitorial supplies boomed because everybody was buying masks and buying
right,
sanitizer and
right,
Lysol and all that stuff. And so, you're in a really great industry. Um, but again, partnering with Scale My Cleaning Business for a lot of some of these smaller businesses is a great partnership because you guys have the tools and the resources to teach them, to train them, to mentor them. You have the Saturday classes where they can really learn how to grow their business because it's much more than just doing good quality work. Like, yeah, you can do good quality work, but if you don't know, to your point, if you don't know how to get an appointment to sit down with somebody, talk to them about cleaning their facility, how are you going to grow your business? And on the
Right.
flip side, you could be the greatest salesman, but if you got crappy quality, well, your attrition rate is going to be horrible.
Right. You're
And
turning
so
left and right. Yeah.
yeah, so that your salespeople are always constantly bringing in work, but you got to have a fine balance between the two. You got to be able to bring in the
Absolutely.
work. You got to be able to lock in those contracts, and you got to be able to do good quality work, which comes with great customer service. Which means if they email you, you're emailing them back right away. If they're calling you, you're calling them back right away. If they say, "Hey, somebody missed," like prime example, I just got a call from a client. Cleaner didn't show up yesterday. Well, yesterday was a President's Day. So my team assumed that the office was closed. Well, no, they were open. So I got a call. We told the client, hey, we'll be there tonight. We'll come out tonight, make up the service. And they were very happy with our response, very happy with the quick turnaround. And that's another aspect of being able to, again, keep those clients by providing that good customer service. So again,
Yeah.
partnering with Scale My Cleaning Business gives them all of these different tools for their tool belt to know how to sell. You guys have trainings on how to sell, how to put proposals together, how to do the cold calling, how to talk with individuals. And so having all of those tools for somebody that's coming in new in the industry is a great partnership. And again, one of the reasons why we did the affiliate program, because a lot of cleaning companies, they don't know how to get into that space. They don't know how to close. They're cleaners. They want to clean. They just want to do that one job. Yeah, it's helped me. You guys have helped me grow my business, which I'm very appreciative of. And we're going to continue to grow. And there's a couple other businesses that we're going to set up meetings for to talk to with acquiring. And really, it's just, for me, it's full steam ahead with the partnership of Scale My Cleaning Business. So again, I appreciate you guys and appreciate all that you've done for me. And I look forward to the next 5-10 years and see what we can do.
Yeah, man, I absolutely same way, and I love that we partner on things together. And I think there's nothing. I think there's a lot more opportunity out there. Probably a lot more business acquisitions. Definitely this year we got to be looking at some more. And yeah, I really don't see any reason why in this day and age you have people out there, you have resources, connect, network, find your group of folks that you can align with. Surround yourself with people that you want to sit in their shoes. Don't listen to folks that have never been in those positions. And find your flock. I think you're the average of the 7 people around you, right? And if the 7 people around you are just your average everyday cleaning companies that are still trying to get to $500,000, you're going to be stuck in there. If you want to get to the multi-millions, you got to surround yourself with other people that are doing that. Because I think those conversations are different. Things change in those conversations. And you're not talking about just appointments, but I think something that we talk about, it's acquisitions, right? And that it's 100% possible, but you have to have the right process around it. So Ben, thank you for joining, man, on the Mops to Millions podcast. It's been a pleasure, and looking forward to working with you even more and seeing you again on the podcast and see where you're at the end of the year, okay?
Appreciate you guys. Thanks.
All right.